Welcome back to Desk Careers. I am so excited to bring another incredible guest. Today we are speaking with Arpana Shetty, who is a Board Certified Behavior Analyst working with Neuropedia Neuroscience Center here in Dubai. Welcome, Arpana. How are you today?
I'm good, Maria. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. And I love this idea of a behavior analyst. I have spoken to one of your colleagues and we talked about her career journey. And to be very honest with you, Arpana, it was the first time I came across this profession. And I know thinking about this, I'm thinking, how many young people have never heard of a behavior analyst? And working with children, just it's so exciting. So I can't wait to get into your career journey and learn a little more about what brought you to this current role that you are doing right now, where it all started. Before we do that, let's go back on memory lane. I love taking my guests down memory lane because the stories of our careers, I believe, are where the gems exist. It's where young people can begin to resonate with their role model and begin to understand that you don't get from 15 to the top of your career ladder. It doesn't just happen after a degree. It's a journey, it's a process. So take us back to those younger years, Arpana. What was it like to be a younger Arpana Shetty?
That's quite a loaded question. I don't know how much of it is appropriate for the viewers. But I think I wish my career journey was straightforward. And I wish I could say that I always wanted to be a behavior analyst or I wanted to get into this line of work. But it actually hasn't been that straight. It's been quite long-winded. And I think this would actually be a good story for your viewers, the younger kids who are trying to get into, trying to choose what profession they want to get into. So the only thing that I always knew was that I wanted to get into the field of psychology. And that too was because I knew I didn't want to get into, I studied in India, by the way. And so we have very rigid, at least when I was there, we had very rigid lines of career. So you either go into commerce or arts or science. So commerce was out because it was math and finances. And so that wasn't me. Science was if you wanted to get into the medical profession or engineering or, could be physics, whatever. And arts was generally if you wanted to get into psychology, sociology, anthropology, or economics. And so I knew that psychology was what I wanted to do. And so that's what I did my bachelor's in India for. And human behavior has always been of massive interest to me. I think as a person, I can analyze quite a bit, which is a little bit scary for people around me sometimes, but that's just what took my interest. And I knew I also wanted to be in the helping profession in some way. So I wasn't necessarily very research oriented. So that brought me to my master's, which I went to the US for, and that was in marriage and family therapy. So very different from what I do now, a field of psychotherapy, talk therapy, rather than behavior analysis, which is very much you see the behavior and then you see the consequences and the antecedents, and then you modify that behavior. So my journey started with talk therapy. I did a lot of individual counseling, marital counseling, family counseling, and worked with a lot of people with psychological disorders. I had, 90% of my caseload was people with schizophrenia, and it was a very different line of work. And I enjoyed that thoroughly. And I think I still wear that therapist hat many, many times in my everyday life as well. But when I moved to Dubai, my career path moved a little bit because it just wasn't the same practicing in Dubai as compared to what it was in the US. The idea of what psychotherapy was very different. And this was many years ago. So this was in 2007. And so people still hadn't come out of that shell. The taboo was still there. The stigma of seeing the psychotherapist or a psychologist was still there. So that kind of took me away from the field. But like I said, I've always wanted to get into the helping profession. So I worked I was running a charity for about 6 years and for children. And then I started missing psychology again. So I thought, how best to get back into the field, but get into something that I really want to do. And that's when I discovered ABA. And what I read about it was very exciting. And what is really good about ABA is that it allows you to get into the field at a very grassroots level. So you can actually get in and be in the field and learn at that level. And then you can decide if you want to study further, you want to do, you want to take your exams, you want to do another master's, whatever it is. So I got in as a registered behavior technician, which you basically require experience, you need competencies to be done, and you have to do about 40 hours coursework. And then you take an exam, you become a registered behavior technician. So that's what I did. I didn't want to change my career again. So I wanted to be very, very sure that that's what I wanted to do. And so I did another master's degree. And this time I did it in applied behavior analysis. And then the rest is history. I took the BCBA exam and And so now I'm a BCBA, and that's how I've landed with Neuropedia.
What is so interesting in hearing you retell that story is evidence that we don't have to know at 16 or 15 or 17 or 20 what we want to be doing. What I'm hearing you say is, I went with every opportunity that came my way. I discovered what I really enjoyed. I went with it. And then I was adaptable to change from
Absolutely.
India to the US and from the US to Dubai, and understanding that it's okay to change, but be adaptable, I think, is what I'm taking away from that story. And here you are today doing what you really enjoy doing. And your clients are probably better for the experiences that you've had in learning about psychology, in understanding the therapy behind the work that you do, the being able to listen. I think those transferable skills of listening really can make a difference. And as a patient to a healthcare practitioner, I think one of the challenges most patients will agree on is their practitioner hearing what they're saying, or are they just looking for a textbook answer? So I'm really happy that your journey was long-winded, because here you are today, a much better practitioner who's feeling really connected to the work that she does, which is absolutely the story we want young people to hear. So I celebrate the journey that you took, Arpana. As a practitioner, I celebrate that. And I hope that there is a young person and a parent listening to your story feeling like it's okay not to know, because I think that's one of the biggest concerns of students. And I hear it from parents as well, saying, why doesn't my child know? This comparison with other children.
Do you know what? If you ask any of those parents and you ask them what their career journeys were like, you will find that the people who are stuck in deadbeat jobs, but they're doing it just to get by, they're the ones who probably chose a long time ago. I'm not saying that people who know what they want are doing it wrong. It's not the case at all, but it's okay not to know what you want. And it's okay to explore, like you said, as you go. And then the only thing you have to be very, very careful about and have to promise yourself is that you're going to do whatever it is with integrity. Like, make the effort in whatever it is that you're doing and do it to the best of your abilities. And then you'll see if that's your passion or not. And it's fine. You don't have to be 25 and knowing everything. You can be 40 like me and still not know anything.
I love that. And you know what, Arpana, if we've learned anything from the pandemic, it's about being adaptable. And we know that with life, the journey, it's the journey, isn't it? I know we're maybe going off on a tangent right now, but our career stories are part of that journey. And why do we have to do what we thought we would do when we were 15 or 16? When we're, later into our journey, we might want to change. And in a recent interview I did with a little over 72-year-old, I think he was celebrating having gone through, his 70 plus years and redefining what his career is. So I believe that it is the journey, and that is part of the journey. So let's talk a little more about your current role and the connection to the original, the beginning, the psychology, the passion for psychology. How are they connected, or are they? And if they're not, how does one complement the other?
I think if I can compare it to the field of psychotherapy, because that's where my expertise were, I think there is a lot of transferable skills. But if you look at it, there's a lot of psychotherapy that you kind of have to leave behind when you're getting into behavior analysis. Because with behavior analysis, you do take into account what the person may have gone through, what their life was like, what's happening around them. That's important. But it's the behaviors ultimately is what you're analyzing. You're not analyzing that person. So it's the behaviors that they do, the consequences to those behaviors is what the environment around those is what will decide what happens next, or how your behavior will increase or decrease in the future. So I think the transferable skills, like you said, really helps me connect with parents a lot, because it's not an easy journey if you have a child with special needs. It's a very hard journey. And sometimes practitioners forget that, you see the child for 2 hours, 3 hours a day, maybe even 5, but the parent is with the child the entire day. And it's hard on them. It's not easy. They probably are wearing multiple hats. And so I think the psychotherapy background helps me empathize and helps me be present for them. In terms of the field of ABA, like I said, it's an amazing field. Like I'm so, if there's one regret, I wish I'd just covered it earlier. Like there is so much you can do in the field of ABA, and it doesn't have to be just the children. It doesn't have to be children with special needs. I mean, you have OBM, which is, organizational behavior management. You have ABA being used in the prison systems. You have it used in massive organizations with HR and, employee engagement and all of that. So there are lots of ways in which you can use the field. And it's just that I chose to specialize in special needs, and especially in the autism spectrum disorder. So did I completely lose your question?
Not at all. No, it was absolutely great. Okay, take us through the daily, what I can expect if I want to go into this role. What does a typical day look like for you, Arpana?
So my role with Neuropedia is slightly different from the roles that I've done before. So previously, as a BCBA, my role would necessarily be, I would have a caseload of clients or students that I was supervising. I would have therapists like registered behavior technicians who would be implementing the programs that are right for the child. So once you have a child come in, you assess them, you do a very detailed assessment, you have an IEP that you create for them, then you train the therapist on how to run those programs, and then you provide regular supervision to make sure that the programs are implemented with integrity. And ABA is driven by data. So everything that we do, every behavior is monitored, every behavior is registered. You are taking data on each and everything. So whatever decision, whatever summary, or whatever future decision changes you're going to make is based on the data that you receive. And so your typical day as a BCBA would be assessing, writing programs, training staff, implementing them, also training families. So you would do a lot of family training, parent training, nanny training. You go to the school with the child. It's not the kind of job that you get to sit behind a desk and talk. It's a job you have to be on your toes. You have to wear running shoes to work. You have to be present. So you're part of that child's life every step of the way, because parents will come back to you and say, this is what you suggested and this is not working. So you've got to be there to tell them what will work. What do you change in this situation? So I think that's generally the role of a BCBA. But my current role is similar. But with Neuropedia, I have been brought in to be the BCBA for the Unity classroom in GEMS Metropole School. So I'm not sure how much you know about this, but just let me give you a basic view. So the Unity classroom, which is based inside GEMS Metropole School in Motor City, is a combination of an educational environment and a therapeutic environment. So the students in there can access alternative curriculums. So the idea is that either a child who requires a school readiness program, or a child who requires an alternative curriculum, or they just need support in school. So they basically come into the Unity classroom. We have a classroom currently about 8 students, and we have therapists with them. They also receive the educational component from a special education teacher who has the curriculum in this classroom. We have speech and language therapist who comes and does one-to-one and group speech and language. We have OTs, occupational therapists, who do the same with the students. And then you have the therapists are all ABA therapists, and the ABA program is supervised by me. So I work within the school now, and I work with the school. So it's a very, very collaborative program that Neuropedia does with the school, called the Unity Classroom. So that's mainly what my role is right now.
That's amazing. So not only are you working in practice, but you're also in the field, as we say, when you're working with your students and your parents as well. And I love that it becomes a holistic approach. It's not, school is one aspect of the child and the work that you do. It really all comes together. That's absolutely incredible. What would you recommend a young person that may be interested in pursuing this career path? What can they do that is not something they'll learn in a classroom, but something that they can gain by doing other things on their journey?
The good thing about ABA is that you can get in very young. You don't necessarily require even a bachelor's degree. Like in the US, you can start working as an RBT with just your 12th grade. So you're probably 18. So you can start really early, which is really amazing about this field. So what I would suggest is anyone who would even consider this, they can actually join any of the centers in Dubai. They can work as a trainee. They can actually do the job as they're going along. They can get supervision from the BCBA. They can then do their 40 hours for an RBT. So it actually allows you to be doing the work while you're getting, while you're training yourself for what you want to do. So it's pretty much like do it and then see if you like it. If you feel passionate about it, then continue, because the role itself is very taxing. The job itself is not an easy job. You really you have to be very mature. You have to think on your feet, and you have to kind of be independent. So I think it allows young people to actually get into the field earlier and then see how they want to go ahead, or if they want to stay in it at all.
So what I'm hearing you say is there are not only, it's not only a knowledge base, it's also a physical capacity. You need to be, I'm almost imagining, you need to be really fit, really healthy, in shape. You mentioned wearing running shoes to work. I imagine that means the day is pretty much go, go, go. And
absolutely.
And you're working with a variety of age ranges. How do you go from working with the child to educating the school and then feeding back to the parents? How do you manage to wear those different hats and make it look so seamless?
I've worked with schools in different capacities, and I think with the Unity, the way the Unity program is set up, it actually is extremely seamless because we work with the school. So the SEN department of the school is very strongly integrated with ours. So it is the special education teachers from the school. So she's actually a part of the SEN team, of SEN leadership. So it's when the parent comes in to a Unity classroom, they're actually coming into the school. So all of the IP meetings will have the people from Unity, will have the people from the school. And this is for Unity. But otherwise, when, say, a BCBA goes into a school, we will get either the SEN department will get in touch with us saying, okay, we have a child who needs your help. And they also bring in the parents for that. So when we develop plans for schools, we're doing it with the class teacher in mind to say, you know, she doesn't have just one child, she has many kids. How can she implement these programs? Because it's not always one-to-one. There might be a learning support assistant with the child, but sometimes there isn't. So when we're working, it literally forms an advocacy team for that child. And that's what it's about, because then you know there are people in the corner of that child. And your job as a BCBA is to be that advocate. So you are going to say to school, or you are going to say to the parents that this is what the child needs. And this is what we're going to make happen for the child. And the good thing about schools in the UAE is that there is more and more inclusivity. So we're moving away from excluding children from keeping them outside the classroom, versus making it more inclusive and bringing external therapists into the classroom so that we can help the children there.
That's wonderful. And now I'm going to wear the hat of an educator and thinking about a career pathway moving forward. Would you see this as an ideal professional development for an SEN teacher that may be considering their own career path?
We see a lot of SEN teachers slightly branching into ABA. And you know that you will see that because they see more and more ABA therapists and BCBAs at schools nowadays. So then they see, okay, like it's what's really amazing about ABA, Maria, is that you will see the difference. You will see that you put a program in place and you will see that the child's behavior is changing, which feels like magic, but it isn't really. There's science behind it. ABA is a very, very scientific field. And so when SEN teachers see that, we get a lot of requests saying, okay, if we do the 40 hours, are you willing to supervise us? So a lot of centers actually will provide supervision to teachers, to whoever wants to do it. And if they have access to the children to get their practical training with, why not? I think it's a great feather on their hats. Yeah.
Brilliant. I can hear SEN teachers watching this now going, wow, I never thought I could develop myself further. I think sometimes educators think professional development is about learning in the classroom, but this is a completely new career and also a great field. I can almost hear school leaders saying, Maria, what are you doing? No. But I heard something that you just said, which made me think about the story you told us right at the beginning. So you said, again, Maria, this field is very scientific. It's very science-based. Let's take you back to that younger you who decided that sciences wasn't for you. Arpana, like here you are right now telling me I'm in a field that's very science-based, but you didn't enjoy it. So what's different today than it was when you were younger?
I think when it's science of human behavior and human psychology, that was always there. That spark was always there. And this profession just kind of let it, fire up. But I think it was the physics and the chemistries that kept me away. The biology was always good, but you feel confident in the field when it is backed by scientific research. And there is so much research, so much good research that tells you that it works. And I think that kind of makes you a confident person in general, that you can actually go and tell parents that, guess what, there is research and we can show you this is what's happening. It's not left to someone's thoughts or how they control their own minds, their emotions, all that's there. But ultimately, it's the behaviors that you can see, and you can see that change. I mean, you won't believe the number of people who use ABA for quitting any addictions. So, I mean, they use that quite often because it's all about behavior change. And we use all of these. I mean, I'm a mother and I use ABA practices all the time with my child, and it works. So.
Amazing. I mean, I can hear moms right now going, okay, Arpana, we need your help. I'm going to ask you my next favorite question. And it is a question that is loaded, and usually it takes people a little by surprise. So I'm going to throw it out there. Arpana, here you are today on your journey. Where do you see yourself heading in your future career?
I think right now I'm going to stick to the field. one of the reasons why I was also attracted to this is because I don't see retirement. Like, I don't think of this as something that you can just stop doing. You can continue doing it. I would love to expand my ABA knowledge to animals. I would like to see myself in with a large kennel of dogs and training animals. Like that would be amazing. That's a very good expansion to what I already do. And because there's so much understanding behind all of this. Like, I would honestly probably be breeding animals somewhere. And
amazing. And this is what it's all about. We are always evolving. We are always changing and moving ourselves forward. Thank you, Arpana. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I'm walking away with so many gems, so many nuggets. I hope that young people, educators, parents, and anyone watching are also walking away knowing that, if anything, we feel the connection that you have to what you're doing, and we can see the drive behind what you do. And I think no day it will ever be the same for you. With every child, there will always be new experiences because everyone is different. Thank you, Arpana.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
And that brings us to the end of another incredible conversation. Today, we were speaking with Arpana Shetty, who is a Board Certified Behavior Analyst, currently working with Neuropedia Children's Neuroscience Center here in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. I'll see you all at our next Desk Careers Digital Spotlight.